always said, if it's not enforced, if the city doesn't enforce it, we're not going to pay it. And the insurance department has told them consistently for the last 12 or 15 years, it doesn't matter whether it's enforced or not. You need to quit asking that and demanding, documentation that it is in fact enforced or adopted. We have a unified code in Oklahoma, and you need to adjust your claims according to those codes. Yes.
Well, we've got a lot of adjuster re-inspections that have already gone on or soon to go on.
Okay, we're streaming now. We're less than 30 seconds out. Here we go. Broadcasting live from the stupendous Tyler Media Studio D in Oklahoma City, it's McRoof Talks Insurance on KOKC AM 1520 FM 95.3. I'm Rick Allen Lippert here with restoration specialist and Hall of Fame remodeler Scott McCollum.
Hey, Mr. Rick.
Also here, HAAG-certified roofing inspector Scotty McCollum.
Good morning, Rick.
Hey, good morning. Running man Eric Yandel, the wizard on the other side of the glass. Yes, he will answer your calls to 405-478-1520. We're live streaming today on the McRoof Talks Insurance YouTube channel. Scott's waving at you right now. Also, you can hear us anywhere in the US of A on iHeartRadio. Just search for KOKC. Act 1 of the show today will start as usual with our trivia question and other interesting tidbits, including the word of the week. That number again to answer the trivia question or to just ask a question of these guys, 405-478-1520. In Act 2, we'll hear Scotty's view from the rooftop. This week, Scotty details a repair method that McRoof used in cold conditions, exercising not only creativity, but unique skill in an episode titled Uncommon Solutions for Uncommon Situations. Then in Act 3, we'll take more of your calls, plus we'll have After the Storm tips brought to you by Roof RX, and we'll wrap up with Dad's Wisdom brought to you by Energy Q. Coming back from breaks, of course, we'll have some genuinely obscure historical trivia. Now, I can't prove it, but I believe the lawyer somehow slipped a note in my coat pocket last night to remind me to say that S&CM LLC, doing business as McRoof.us, legally operates under Oklahoma registration number 8000002, and that the registration applies to both residential and commercial roofing.
I'm impressed that you checked your coat pocket, Rick,
Hey.
because I know I don't.
You know, I found a 10 spot in there one time, so
wow.
I check it every time.
That's pretty good.
All right, so good morning to you, gentlemen. Let's get started with our trivia question, shall we?
Okay, well, let's
What
do
is
it.
that?
So, this is a true or false, but even if you get the T or the F correct, you have to tell me why. Okay?
Oh, my goodness.
So, true or false, ventilation issues in your attic actually cause more damage in the wintertime than in the summertime. True or false? And then, depending on what your answer is, you're going to have to explain to me your answer.
Now let me ask you this, as you well know, because I've
Regardless
told you
of the answer, we want an explanation.
Exactly.
I've told you many times that when I was younger and my dad was alive, every Thanksgiving I'd climb up on the roof and put those garbage bags over the whirlybirds.
Yeah, we're not
Take-
going
take
to
them-
talk too much about what happened with that right now.
I'd take them down on Easter, and we now know that that was a silly practice. I'll go so far as to say a stupid practice. But
Oh, that's funny. That's funny.
and is that the kind of issue you're talking about?
Could be.
Poor insulation, or ventilation, or no, in that case, no ventilation.
Yeah, and I've had, I've told you what happens when you go up there
Yes,
in the wintertime. I've gotten up there and taken those bags off, and people would know the answer to the question and the reason why if they had ever done that.
Yeah.
So,
I
okay.
think
So do you? Go ahead.
I said, I think so.
So are we going to the word of the week now? Or-
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, sure.
Well, let's
go-
do the word
yeah.
of the week.
Okay, so the word of the week is exhaust. Okay? Exhaust. To use something completely, or exhaust as a noun, the waste gas from an engine, especially from a car, or the pipe this gas flows through.
Right.
So when we're talking about ventilation, there is an element of a ventilation system that is our exhaust. Okay? So, and the building code talks to us about exhausting.
Okay.
Okay?
I'm impressed that it's in the building code.
The building code under outdoor discharge, okay? The air removed by every mechanical exhaust system shall be discharged to the outside of the structure in accordance with section of the mechanical code.
Okay.
Okay. So what we're saying is that your cooking exhaust,
Mm-hmm.
okay, your bathroom exhaust,
Right.
Your dryer
Of course.
exhaust,
Yes.
okay, any exhaust in your house must be discharged to the exterior of the roof. In the old days, and we still find it, in fact, we were taking care of this issue for one of our clients yesterday,
just yesterday.
Scotty,
Yep.
where the bath vents,
And we see this a lot on older homes.
the
Okay.
bath vents have a little pipe
Right.
connection that comes up from the bath vent that theoretically is supposed to stick up above the
Above the
insulation.
roof.
Above the insulation, number
insulation.
one.
Oh,
Okay?
okay.
And in some cases, it doesn't even do that.
Oh,
No.
my.
Okay. And then that vent in the old days, a lot of times people just had it stubbed up into the attic. They let all of that exhaust into the attic.
Right.
Sometimes they had a hose, a flex hose connected to it and ran it over to the soffit. Okay.
Oh, God.
Most of the
Not-
time, most of the time they put a piece of downspout pipe from a gutter system up in the attic to extend it either over towards the soffit or and put a connector on it, an elbow towards the soffit, which I can think of some issues that would create.
And this code clearly defines and states that ventilation to the soffits or ventilation to another exhaust vent on the roof is not an acceptable means. Everything that you've got, your dryer vent, your bathroom vents, your furnace and water heater vents, your cooking vent, that exhaust is to be contained and exhausted through a proper termination on the outside of the structure, being a roof vent, proper roof vent.
Well,
okay.
Years ago, I want to say 95, I was recently married to my current and last wife, and and I had inherited my folks' house, the one that I used to put the garbage bags on the whirlybirds. And when it came time to sell it, the inspector said I had to vent my dryer to the outside. So
Right.
I spent, at that time, $300
Yeah, a few $100 bucks. Yeah.
for a plumber to route that dryer vent outside. So we're buying a house 1 mile away,
Mm-hmm.
built a few years before, just a few, maybe 5-6 years before,
Mm-hmm.
and the dryer vent goes up into the attic.
Right.
And the inspector doesn't say anything
Doesn't
about
say
it.
a word about it.
So I asked him, and he says, "Well, it's not in the code that it has to go outside." And
You just got done spending money
Yeah.
fixing it on the house you're selling, but it didn't need to be that way.
and sure enough, in that attic, well, as in the previous attic, dryer lint all over everything.
Sure.
And I thought, well, this doesn't make sense.
Oh, it's pretty scary, and I don't have the statistics in front of me. I have looked at the statistics of the number of house fires that are caused by dryer vents in the United States every single year. We have a lot of different kinds of exhaust vents that have been rigged by, homeowners, plumbers, whoever, roofers, who didn't know what they were doing into every kind of exhaust, okay? That is not what it was intended for. And so when we see a dryer vent, or a dryer vented, I should say, not a dryer vent, but we see a dryer vented into a flat vent, a box vent, a 750, any of the kinds of things we see them actually vented into. When we take that off of the roof during removal, okay, when we're tearing the roof off, that is just clogged, caked full of dryer lint, okay? And so you can see the issue with having an improper termination or improper venting of all of these exhausts, then you start to get those kinds of situations. But dryer vents are horrible.
Yeah.
And that figure, by the way, the most conservative estimate or report on how many annual residential clogged dryer vent situations cause a house fire in North America alone is 13,000.
Okay.
Oh my goodness!
A
year?
13,000.
I knew it was a big number.
Wow.
Okay.
There are
But
other reports that range up to 18,000.
We literally see this all the time when we go to tear off. We'll go out to a house and we know, okay, this house has 3 bathrooms, and this house has a dryer, and this house has a cooktop, with a vent, and there's no bath vents on the roof, proper bath vents on the roof. There's no dryer vent on the roof. There's not a proper range vent on the roof. In fact, I had a lady. It's not really funny. I finally got to the point with her son that I told her son, you hire someone to go over and take off what we put on and put it back like it was, but do not ever call me about this situation again. Literally, she had a range vent, or a range that was vented into a flat vent, okay? And a range vent, a proper range vent on the roof,
they call it a gooseneck style.
has a hood on it.
Oh yeah.
Okay, and inside of it, it actually has a closure. Okay,
a damper.
A damper.
Yeah. So birds can't get
She
in.
did not like listening to that damper flap. It did face the north. Okay, she did not like listening to that damper flap. Okay, in the wind, and she wanted it taken off. And I told her son, I absolutely refuse to remove it. Here's a photo of what it was before, which is not to code, which is not correct, which is not a proper range vent, okay? And here's what we have done, which cost me money out of my pocket to do it correctly, okay? Here's what we have done, and I am not going to remove it. And I don't know if her son went and took it out, or if he went and took the damper out of it. I don't know what he did, but I haven't heard about it again. But I'm telling you, folks, the dryer vents, the range vents, the bathroom vents are hooded vents, okay? A bath vent that goes on the roof and a dryer vent that go on the roof look exactly the same, okay? The only difference in those two vents is that the bath vent, you leave the screen in it The dryer vent, we remove the screen so that it does not
Doesn't-
get clogged up with the lint.
Collect the
Okay?
lint, yeah.
But the two vents are exactly the same. We just handle them differently in the install. So anyway, there you go. We talked about exhaust. We talked
We
about
have.
ventilation. We
We've-
still don't have an answer to our trivia question, though.
That trivia question, true or false? Ventilation issues in your attic actually cause more damage in the winter than in the summer. True or false? And we want to know why you think you come up with your answer. 405-478-1520. If you get the answer correct, you win 2 free tickets to Carpenter Square Theater. The show, Ken Ludwig's The Games Afoot, or Homes for the Holidays. I saw it again last night. Very funny. A good-sized crowd. There are tickets available for tonight. Tomorrow's matinee is just about sold out.
Wow, great.
There were like 5
Great.
seats left.
And then you've
Oh,
got
great.
one more week, or
And
two
one more
weeks?
weekend.
One more weekend.
One more weekend, and that Sunday matinee is filling up as
Tell
well.
folks about the art display in the gallery
Oh,
right now,
and
because
I-
that's something that I really enjoy.
And I took photos for you. I meant
Okay.
to email them to you earlier. I beg your pardon. The paintings of Albert Bostic, African American artist who paints African American art, and
Born and
he's-
raised in New Orleans.
Yeah, he's on one wall, and then we have the jewelry of Evita Kreider on the other wall. I've already picked out my wife's
There you
Christmas
go.
present, put a
There you
sold
go.
sign on it. Both of their work is selling. So, and Al even has some coffee cups.
Oh, wow.
Some coffee mugs.
Oh wow! I
That-
need some coffee cups. I need some mugs.
They're really
I tell
nice.
you, of course, everybody knows Wanda's from South Louisiana, so when I can see that Creole, Cajun,
Influence.
see
Yeah.
all those influences of, Al talks about his art, about the colors from the muddy banks of the Mississippi,
Yes.
and from the lichens and the mosses hanging in the oak trees and things like that, and it really brings it home for me. And looking at his art, it's really cool.
And with that, we'll take our first break. That's the end of Act 1 of today's show. Our trivia question: ventilation issues in your attic actually cause more damage in the winter than in the summer. True or false? 405-478-1520. Give us a call if you think you know the answer and why. We'll be back in a flash with Act 2. It's McRoof Talks Insurance on KOKC.
If you don't have an advisor when it comes to your residential, commercial, or metal roof, you might not have met one of McRoof's solution specialists yet. Our team is dedicated to thoroughly evaluating your needs and to developing effective and lasting solutions focused not only on financial interests, but also long-term goals for your home or building. Providing accurate in-person inspections, personal guidance with insurance, roofing, and design factors, and follow-up throughout the repair process, we seek to be your last stop for professional roofing and insurance restoration. McRoof is founded on quality, integrity, and lasting value. If these things appeal to you, give us a call today at 855-766-3405. McRoof.us. Every replacement done right.
McRoof Talks Insurance, back on the air for Act 2 of today's live call-in radio show. I'm Rick Allen Lippert. He's restoration specialist and Hall of Fame remodeler Scott McCollum. The other one is HAAG-certified roofing inspector Scotty McCollum. On this date in 1787, Delaware is the first state to ratify the U.S. Constitution.
Delaware.
And then on this date in 1869, the outlaw Jesse James, his first confirmed bank robbery. In 1869, he and his brother Frank robbed a bank in Gallatin, Missouri. And then, on this date in 1941, 83 years ago today. Japanese Navy 353 planes attacked the U.S. fleet at Pearl Harbor Naval Base, killing 2,403 people. Another 1,178 were injured, 188 ships destroyed, 159 damaged. Pearl Harbor Remembrance Day today. This is Jesse G singing Dress Blues. Thank you, Jesse G. Pearl Harbor Remembrance Day. I have been to the Arizona Memorial in Hawaii, and it is very somber.
I'm sure it is.
Very
Sure it is.
solemn. I recommend it to everyone. So there we
Got to
go.
make a trip.
Yeah, and gosh, it's in Hawaii.
Yeah, true.
Ah. All right, so our trivia question is still out there. True or false, ventilation issues in your attic actually cause more damage in the winter than in the summer? True or false? 405-478-1520. Give us a call. Let us give us a guess. But you have to have a reason why you think it's the answer you're giving us.
I like that part of
Yeah,
the question.
show us your work.
Yeah,
Show us your work.
Exactly. Exactly. Speaking of work, what was your work like this past week?
I think on young Scotty's side it was cold.
It was a little chilly.
You were the one up
Well,
on the
I'm
roof.
taking off. Yeah, I had my mic turned off so my jacket wasn't rustling in the mic. But it's toasty in here, but it's been cold outside on the roofs, especially. We've had a lot of breeze this week, and we had a couple days that it was kind of calm, and that was nice. But I've been on a lot of repairs with Sean and roofs with insurance adjusters, and Johnny and Kelvin, they've also been on quite a few roofs too.
Kelvin had a busy week this week.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, he brought some contracts in the door for people that finally finalized their decisions on
good.
what to do with their insurance claim funds and making upgrades and finalizing their scope of work. And Johnny, he was out of commission for 2
He
days.
celebrated his birthday, and maybe
Yeah,
he
exactly.
celebrated a little too much. Now he didn't tell me
No.
that. But, no,
His whole family, they had a little run with a stomach bug after
Johnny's
Thanksgiving.
got little ones,
Oh.
and so the school.
Yeah.
This,
No,
that,
they
the
think it was
other.
something with their food.
Oh,
it was,
really?
I think
Huh.
it was food poisoning.
Okay. Well,
Anyways, he's back in commission, and he was doing great yesterday, so we're glad to have him back.
He celebrated his 88th birthday yesterday, the other day, and he looks pretty good for the shape he's in. So anyway. Hey, I
think he's 44 to be exact.
44. Okay.
Oh, okay.
All right. Well, see, I just doubled him up.
So
there,
you sent me notes about the end of a saga.
Oh my gosh! And this is and not to,
I know where this is
not
going.
to bore anyone, but I want to take you back in time. This is we're getting ready to go into 2025.
Yes.
Okay.
Sooner than we think.
So this is one of our clients out east of town that initially got into our universe in February of 2020.
Oh boy.
Okay. And we started out in February of 2020 with a denial on a hail damage claim on their roof.
This is just before the pandemic hit.
2020.
Pre-pandemic.
Pre-lot of stuff, right? Okay. So then we come around and we reconnect, and we are looking at this all over again. And in 2023, what happens? We get another denial.
Oh,
boy.
Okay? So denial is the longest river in the world. So I mean, this story's going to go on for a while. So then now we're into March of 2024, and what happens? We get another denial, and then April of 2024, we get another inspection after we have sent a demand for appraisal, and we get another denial. Okay? So then,
boy.
somewhere between April and July, we had another hailstorm.
Ah, that's right.
So rather than continuing to fight the battle on the old claim, because I've told people this, I will tell you that everyone involved in this process is a human being, and human beings tend to dig their heels in and entrench themselves in their own positions.
That's right.
Right, wrong, or indifferent.
Right.
So rather than having to deal with all the territory that had already been carved out and the heel digging and all that, we said, let's just start all over again. This is a no-brainer. Based on Mr. HAAG Inspector Genius here saying it's a no-brainer, Dad. Well, what happens in July? We get another denial.
And were they denying this because they were saying previous damage?
No. They you're not going to go down that path. I mean, you'd have to be pretty brazen to go down that path of pre-existing damage when you've denied the claim for 3 years.
Exactly, yeah.
Up to that point in time, and
I don't know if
when
brazen
the people
would
have
be
not
the word I
changed
would
the
use.
insurance company. So okay. So then we decided that we would send the shingles to HAAG Engineering because we said we're never going to get anywhere with this. It's either going to go to court or we're going to get HAAG Engineering on our side before we go to court. Send the shingles to HAAG. We send them 5 shingles. They test the 5 shingles. They send us a report that says that 4 of the 5 shingles, so if you want to put percentages, that's 80% of what we sent them, had damage that was significant hail associated damage, indicated hail in excess of 1.5 inches in diameter.
Okay.
So we've got, logically, Mr. Insurance Adjuster, we have 80% of the roof is damaged by hail. Okay. So we send them the report, and it takes them from September, October, it takes them until 12/5
Last week.
having this report. From the time we sent them a report, that was enough to force them to send another adjuster out.
Okay.
Well, what did they do? They sent a fee inspector out who wasn't steep roof certified, could not get on the roof. So then Scotty had to go back again to
The
get
next
on that
week.
roof with a steep roof inspector.
Who
And-
that independent inspector had to hire as a ladder assist.
Exactly.
Oh,
So we've got so many layers to this thing.
So-
we
My
could
goodness.
make a
on
nice cake.
12/5, okay, we finally get an approval for this roof. 100% replacement and all the bells and whistles and everything else. McRoof had been on this site 6 times this year.
oh my goodness.
McRoof spent $2,300 to pay HAAG Engineering to write an engineering report.
After doing desaturation testing on those shingles.
So McRoof has not been paid 1 dime on this, and over the 4 years between my time, Scotty's time, Wanda's time, the HAAG Engineering, I can easily assume that we have invested $10,000 in attempting to get an insurance company to do what they should have done 4 years ago,
Right.
almost 5 years ago.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, so finally, the saga is coming to a conclusion. Scotty will be meeting with the clients next week to finalize all of their plans, get all of their selections. We'll talk to them about fortified. Obviously, we'll talk to them about Class 4, modified SBS technology and those kinds of things. So anyway, talk about an ordeal.
My
That is
goodness,
truly
yeah.
the saga.
Well, and as not to draw a direct comparison, but the shooting the other day of the United Healthcare CEO, in some of the news reports I've seen following that, analyzing all kinds of stuff, I saw where the percentage of folks who appeal an insurance denial for health coverage, 0.2%. only 0.2% of policyholders
Right.
appeal a denial. 0.2%. The insurance companies know that if they deny,
I can't believe that.
there's
Well-
almost they're guaranteed to never hear from them, from that patient
I
again.
think there's a number of things, and there is a correlation to the property insurance scenario as well. It is well known and understood that just the old adage, he who has the gold makes the rules.
Exactly.
And everyone understands that the insurance companies have the gold.
That's
Everyone
right.
understands that the insurance companies have the lobbyists. They have written laws and had enabling legislation that allows them to be able to get away with a lot of the things that they get away with. I was reading a troubling story yesterday, Rick, on the other side.
Okay.
And it was a study, and we'll get into this in great detail. It was a study about insurance fraud. And it was a study about insurance fraud in medical, insurance fraud in auto, insurance fraud in property casualty, that kind of thing.
Okay.
The attitudinal change in society, okay, over an aging demographic, okay, they can directly correlate age with one's attitudes towards committing insurance fraud, okay? And the thing that just blew me away was when you get into the age of people like you and I,
Mm-hmm.
the percentage of people who would willingly commit insurance fraud was very, very small.
Okay, good to hear.
When you get to the other end of the spectrum,
At Scotty's
people
age?
from 18 to 30,
Okay.
over 20% of them said they would willingly commit insurance fraud.
Jeez.
Okay?
Oh my God.
People said that they would willingly include damage in a claim for property damage as a result of a storm that they knew existed before the storm.
Wow.
They knew that they would exaggerate the damage on an automobile in the event of an accident. And just a huge percentage of people feel like that the insurance companies make so much money that they are entitled to take advantage of the insurance company every opportunity they get. And that's why McRoof and people know this about us. I make the statement, and I will be able to make it the day I'm headed to my grave, that I have never asked an insurance company to pay one dime that I did not believe in my heart, in all of my training, education, expertise, credentials, whatever, that the insurance company owed that money as a result of a storm.
Okay.
Okay? And that is, I want folks to get 100% of what an insurance company owes them, but I don't want you to get one dime that you're not entitled to. That's why it bothers us so much when we're on properties that have not been maintained, that have deferred maintenance and things like that, because I know that the insurance company is going to end up paying for things that they really shouldn't pay for. Okay? That's not right either. So
Nope.
it is right is right and wrong is wrong, and the fact that attitudinally a vast majority of American consumers today would willingly commit insurance fraud given those opportunities, that is extremely disturbing. And this was not a study by the insurance industry. This was a study of a group that actually is an anti-fraud group who talks about things that I talk about, that fraud exists on all levels. Fraud is at the consumer, all parties.
Yeah.
Consumers commit fraud, contractors commit fraud, adjusters commit fraud, insurance companies commit fraud. And unfortunately, in my mind, we enable that through our legislatures and through our court systems. Okay? I have examples on my desk right now, black and white, contracts from roofing companies in Oklahoma City that are absolute violation of the statutes. They are criminal fraud, okay? And there is no one district attorney, attorney general, insurance department. There's no one who has the authority and the willingness and the ability to do anything about it. Okay?
That's awful.
That's a
It is.
problem.
It is awful.
Scotty, can you do your view from the rooftop in 2 minutes?
We'll see.
All right. Well, let's get up on the roof and at least give it a shot. In this week's view from the rooftop, Scotty details a repair method that he used in cold conditions, exercising not only creativity but unique skill.
Well, they say there's a yes in this week's episode titled
Uncommon solutions for uncommon situations.
Yes, exactly, Rick. They say there's a fine line between creativity and sanity,
Yes.
and I think I may have
Found it.
found the line. We talked about how
I think he crossed the line.
a long time ago.
Yeah.
Well, this week, as we mentioned, it was a little bitter
Yeah.
some days. And these Certainty Northgate shingles, man, they just stick like nobody's business. It is next to impossible to pry them up. If you're trying to spot repair
Right.
a shingle, or spot
And in
replace
the
or
cold,
repair
I
a shingle,
imagine they just get very brittle and break.
no, that's actually not the case because
That's,
the whole
that's
climate
the
flex
beauty of
technology.
SBS technology. Is
Oh.
Yeah,
they
the
do
rubberization.
They do not get brittle.
I mean,
Oh.
you can whack them with a hammer, you can smack them with a pry
Okay.
bar, you can agitate them a lot,
So
and they'll
what did
maintain
you
their
do?
form. But what I did is we had some cosmetic Mars on the surface of some shingles on a customer's new roof that we did in the mid part of September. It had some heat on it, so some of these asphalt transfer spots where the asphalt had transferred from one shingle that was not installed to a shingle that was already installed, and some scuff marks from foot traffic and tools and
Okay.
whatnot.
All right.
What we ended up doing is I grabbed a hand torch
Mhm.
with a propane bottle, and started doing repairs just like we do on mod bit
on
roofs.
mod bit, yeah.
Yeah.
So I literally, because Sean and I, we were trying to pry these shingles, every single one of them was breaking before we got the whole shingle off, and it was taking other shingles with it.
Oh,
That's
no.
how great these Northgate shingles are. But all that just to say, I'm about to go out there to finish up that job with him after we leave here, and that's what we developed as our repair method. Is we took we agitated granule off of the surface of the shingles, collected it in some small buckets, and we're going around heating with these torches the shingles that need to be spot repaired and cosmetically repaired.
So
and
heating the
spray-
asphalt, and
Right.
then they'll sprinkle the
Right.
granule back on it
Yeah.
to
sprinkle
where
the
it looks
granule
like
back
it
on
was.
it, and then
Beautiful.
I'm using a flat blade 6-inch putty or a painter's tape knife
Yeah.
to just mat down the shingle, just flatten it
Uh-huh,
out nice.
right.
I even have a weighted hand roller as well.
There
So
you go.
there's a lot of things we can do in the cold, and it's and replacing Northgate shingles is not one of them.
That's a great story. You could almost make cream brulee while you're up there with a hand torch.
Somewhat, yeah.
That's the end of Act 2 of McRoof Talks Insurance on KOKC, AM 1520, FM 95.3. We'll be back with Act 3 and in a few minutes, and we have some information about policy conditions changing. Ooh, stay tuned.
Hey Rick, for the CBS thing, I've got a CBS college football theme we could play. You could cue me because it's talking about instant replay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Folks, it's time to get on that winter inspection list with McRoof. Give Carly a call at RoofRx 405-877-7663 and get one of my qualified inspectors out there to dissect and inspect your roof, see what kinds of problems and issues you have. Let's keep all that water out of your house this winter. If you've had water in your house, if you have those telltale signs of any kinds of leaks that have not been diagnosed and taken care of, believe me, they're only going to get worse this winter. particularly if we get any kind of snow or ice laying on your roof. Let's get that taken care of. Give Carly a call, RoofRx 405-877-7663.
McRoof Talks Insurance, back on the air for Act 3 of today's show. I'm Rick Allen Lippert. We're live in studio with Scott McCollum and Scotty McCollum. On this date in 1909, Leo Baekeland, a Belgian immigrant, patented the first thermosetting plastic, trademarked Bakelite, sparking the birth of the plastics industry. 1909.
Would you say thermoplastic?
Thermoplastic, thermosetting plastic.
Thermosetting.
And then, on this date in 1963, the first use of instant replay, invented by CBS, was used in a U.S. Army versus Navy football game.
Wow.
You know, instant replay, we take it for granted so much these days. And
We
I
do.
remember when it was maybe not the Army-Navy game of '63, but I remember those early days when they would make it very well known that this is an instant replay. This is not the show. And it certainly didn't have all the slow-mo stuff. It was, but instant replay, first used in 1963. Then, 10 years later, a former Beatle named Paul McCartney released a record with his group called Wings, called Band on the Run.
Mm-hmm.
This was the commercial and critical pinnacle of his post-Beatle work, topping the charts in 7 countries. And the pace picks up a whole lot more in a little bit, but we won't be here to hear it. They actually start singing Band on the Run.
I used to sing that all the time.
That was a great song.
Yeah, it was.
Paul McCartney released Band on the Run 10 years ago.
Not 10 years ago.
In 1973 on this date. Okay, our trivia question still is hanging out there, true or false. So you have a 50% chance of getting this
Yeah,
right.
I mean, come on.
Ventilation issues in your attic actually cause more damage in the winter than in the summer, true or false? 405-478-1520.
Shoot, if you guess wrong, we might even give you a second chance. It's getting late in the show.
There you go. Okay, so I teased before the break, policy conditions changing.
Yeah, you know, we talk about this all the time, and one of the things that I take a lot of pride when my team goes out, when the solutions team goes out and meets with someone, we're very, very, concerned about and making sure that we have all the right information about how the prospect or the client's insurance policy is or should respond to the situations that we find. And what we know is that most people don't really know what their insurance policy says. And so we want to review the insurance policy and make sure that they understand, what their deductible provisions say as respects wind and hail. We want to make sure that they know whether or not they have the ordinance or law coverage. We want to look at the policies that have a lot of the exclusionary endorsements on them. They may have a roof covering endorsement. They may have a metal marring exclusion. They may have multiple layer exclusions in some of the policies with some of the smaller companies. We're starting to see more and more exclusionary language in insurance policies. It's one of those things that is going to require people to pay attention to what you're putting back on your roof in the event of a roof replacement. That's why we talk about roof systems, CertainTeed's Integrity Roof System. We talk about IBHS Fortified Roof Systems, Integrity on Steroids, I call it. We have got to build better roofs because the insurance companies are going to, little at a time, renewal after renewal, year after year, they will rein in this situation in terms of how much money they're spending on what could have been avoidable situations. All right. I envision ultimately that if you don't have a Class 4 SBS modified shingle on your roof, I doubt seriously that you're even going to be able to buy insurance
Oh my.
on down the road on your roof.
You think it's
okay?
going that far?
Eventually,
Eventually.
it will.
Okay.
Eventually it will. Okay. I can envision a time where if you were given the opportunity to replace with SBS modified and incorporate that into a IBHS fortified system, and you chose not to do that, that there's some way that the insurance company is actually going to eliminate you from their universe. I mean, it only makes sense that if we live in Tornado Alley or in the Hail Belt in the central and southern parts of the United States, or in the hurricane and wind zones in South Texas all the way to Florida and up the East Coast, there are better ways of building roofs. There are better ways of building structures, and the more professional contractors are educating the consumers about those things. The trade associations are educating consumers about those things. Insurance companies are educating consumers about those things. And it's time to start paying attention and taking advantage of, avail yourselves of the benefits that building science, technology, and building better practices are going to bring to the marketplace. That's where insurance rates are going to start going down, because you're going to see an associated reduction in the losses that the insurance companies are paying for what I consider to be preventable losses.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Right.
When we tell you that we've been putting CertainTeed Northgate shingles on roofs in Oklahoma and Texas since 2018, and we have yet to replace one of those roofs for hail damage. Now, we are going to replace a couple Northgate roofs for impact damage from debris during the hurricanes.
Okay.
So I have
Tornadoes.
The tornadoes. I'm sorry. So I have to change what I say, and I'm really careful about.
Yeah.
I mean, I scrub the website. I go back and look and make sure that everything we say is. So I will no longer say we have never replaced a Northgate Climate Flex roof. I will say we have never replaced a Northgate Climate Flex roof due to hail damage.
Or even wind damage we could add in there.
Yeah, we can.
It's
yeah.
debris impact from a tornado.
And if you know that you can eliminate that, essentially almost eliminate 100% of exposure to hail. Okay, it's never going to be 100%, but almost eliminate 100% risk for you and the insurance company to suffer a hail loss. Okay. Doesn't that just make sense to do that?
Sure does to me.
Same thing is, if we can keep your roof on your roof, if we can keep the cladding, the covering on your roof by proper attachment methods, and in the event that we do actually lose part of that covering in a tornado, a straight line wind, or a hurricane scenario, but we have sealed and attached your roof deck in such a way that that roof deck will never come off and the water will not get inside your home, we've eliminated 70 to 80% of the potential loss for the insurance companies. We've eliminated people having to be moved out of their homes, have their homes being remediated for mold, have all their furnishings and fixtures being replaced, and having them have to live in an apartment or a hotel or some temporary living that's called additional living expense. And we've eliminated that from the scenario. Okay?
Right.
We have to build better.
Yeah.
Okay?
And,
So-
and fortified, what you were describing as sealing the deck and attaching it securely, that's where your fortified comes
Right,
into.
right. Well, it's the attachment of the roof deck, the sealing of the roof deck, the attachment of the edges in your shingle or your metal panel system,
Right.
or whatever your roof system is. It's all of those things.
Right.
Okay. I will say this: as far as the insurance companies go, as far as the insurance policies go, we know deductibles are going up. Deductibles go up just because values go up. If you have a percentage deductible, the value of your home goes up every year.
Yeah.
Your deductible goes up every
Right.
year. So if for no other reason, deductibles go up. policies get changed from a replacement cost basis to an actual cash value basis, depending on your insurance company. When they age your roof out, most companies that's at 10 years. Okay, the code changes, the exclusions and things. I've got a new wording in a farmer's policy. Coverages, and this is talking specifically about ordinance or law. Coverage is subject to any and all time limitations on the replacement cost recovery. So if you had in your policy a 1 year or 2 year period to recover your depreciation, complete the work, submit everything, and recover your depreciation, and you did not do it in that period of time, you forfeited your depreciation. What this endorsement says is you will also forfeit your right to collect any type of ordinance or law coverage. Okay? And it says specifically in the policy, this will be reviewable by a court. This will be reviewable by a court. So I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I've got a lot of experience in codes and adjusting and being an umpire and kind of reading the tea leaves, so to speak.
Okay.
Okay. One of the places that I think this can end up is where insurance company takes the position that because it can be reviewed by the court and that they know that 99.9% of all consumers are not going to hire an attorney, are not going to know how to fight the battle, are not going to have the staying power or the finances to be able to take on a legal battle with an insurance company, guess who's going to win?
Yeah, the insurance company.
Okay? These are the kinds of things that we need to be talking about. People need to understand, and that's why if you've got a great insurance agent who, spends his time educating you about all the changes, the provisions, the endorsements, the exclusions, everything that's different 1 year over another year in your renewal policies, then by golly, you need to keep him as a trusted advisor, but you need to have the appointment every single year because things are changing at a rapid pace. Don't just file a renewal policy in your desk drawer and forget about it, because you're going to be the one that's going to pay the price, because I almost guarantee you that everything that has changed is in the favor of the insurance company and is going to cost you, the consumer, money.
And that ordinance or law is for those who are unfamiliar with it, that covers the code requirements, such as making sure there is a clean deck, not the strips with the
planks.
Okay.
Well, talking about your
being a
redecks,
solidly sheathed
your
deck.
chimney, all your reflashes, your drip edge, your chimney crickets, your ice and water products, correct ventilation, which 99% of every roof out there is improperly ventilated. And that's where that money comes from, out of that ordinance or law pot, which is an additional item down there at the bottom. If you're looking at your deck page, you'll have the value of your home. And then down below that, it'll have 2 or 3 items there, and it will say ordinance or law or building code coverage, and it will have a dollar amount or a percentage. Typically, if you do not increase the standard amount, it's 10% of the value of the home. You have a $500,000 home, it's $50,000 worth of ordinance or law coverage. Okay.
And to get that coverage, it is really inexpensive.
It's pennies.
Pennies on the dollar,
Pennies,
and if you don't have it, you're spending thousands.
Yeah,
of
I
dollars.
told you the example a few years ago of a guy that we did not file a claim because he did not have ordinance or law coverage. And we got him to go and add the ordinance or law coverage, waited for another event, and his decking was $12,000 or $15,000, and he had spent like $200 or $300 on adding the coverage to his policy. So,
Okay, so it's time for us to.
man, we didn't get to a lot of stuff.
That's okay. To be continued.
After the storm, before the storm.
Well, I'm going to use the after and the before, because we talked about getting your winter inspection. The time to do that is now, and giving Carly a call. So I'm going to use this segment to tell you that there is new information on the Oklahoma Insurance Department website. Anyone who's interested in fortified home, fortified roof, go to okready.com. okready, READY, at oid.ok.gov. That's okready at oid.ok.gov. Now, the information that showed up on the website yesterday, there's not a lot of consumer information there. There is a lot of information there for fortified roofers and fortified evaluators who are interested in taking part in the state program. Okay? So all of the guidelines, everything that you will need to do, the applications are there to apply as a fortified roofer or as a fortified evaluator. All the requirements are there. There's a checklist for you. That application portal is open, and we'll have our applications in on Monday. There will be information will be coming for consumers to begin applying for the grants, and these are up to $10,000 grants to take care of the additional cost of fortifying their roof or their home. There are two different tiers. I think it's a $63,000 and below income level, and $63,000 or so and above income level. Anyway, that consumer information will be forthcoming in early January.
Okay, wrapping up with Dad's wisdom.
Dad's wisdom. Boy, I need to learn from this. Better to remain silent and be thought a fool than to open your mouth and remove all doubt.
And better words have never been spoken. This has been episode number 44 of McRoof Talks Insurance. By the way, the answer to the trivia question was true. Ventilation issues do cause more damage in the winter than in the summer. I'm Rick Allen Lippert.
And the reason is moisture.
Moisture. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Scotty. Thank you, Eric. We'll be back next week.
Thanks, guys. Have a great week.
Got out in the nick of time.